It is Bubdas. And now we've got baseball tonight with Jim Hayes and Jim Edmonds, the Cardinals Hall of Famer. I'm Dan McLaughlin. There's a look at Josh Bell, followed by Gregory Polanco and Andrew McCutchen. Gung will bat cleanup. Then John Jaso, Sean Rodriguez at short, Alan Hansen at second base, Eric Fryer, the former Cardinal, behind the plate, and Tyler Glasnow, the pitcher, will bat ninth. Carlos Martinez pitched well in his last start, 6 innings, gave up a couple of runs, an eventual 3-1 loss to the Chicago Cubs, and this will be his final start of the regular season. First pitch to Bell is a fastball and a strike. He's a switch hitter, hitting .283, 3 home runs, and he's driven in 19. Always fun to watch Carlos Martinez, who's had another solid year, his second season in the rotation for the Cardinals. What do you watch for when you're looking at Carlos start after start?
As usual, I'm watching for location early. I'm watching for rhythm and strikes. I really like how he's, and we've talked about this as this year has progressed, how he's stopped kind of fiddling with 91, 92, 89, and to just kind of work more in that middle range. Obviously, he can get up to 98, 99, but I like the 94s and the 95s to set the tone.
2-2 is a foul ball, and not by much.
For me, I think it's really hard for some guys to go out there and pitch at such a wide range because your arm speed and your body speed, so to say, has to either speed up or slow down, or parts of your arm is going to drag and you're going to have a hard time finding the slot and throw strikes. So I like when he's kind of not such a big range of velocity.
It's a new group of umpires in here tonight, and I think the group from last night is ready to leave St. Louis after what took place. There's a look at Larry Vanover, crew chief behind home plate, Alfonso Marquez, Phil Cuzzi, and Todd Tichenor down at third. 2-2 is pulled foul. Did you ever see a game end like that?
No. No. I wish I was here for it because it would have been a little more entertaining, because sometimes on the TV you can't really figure out what's going on. And I was watching on my couch listening to you and kind of heard what you were saying, and I was right on with you. And then the next thing I know, you see Brian Price come out of the dugout and put his hands up, and I thought, umpires are gone.
They're gone.
They're gone.
And so is Josh Bell. Strikeout for Martinez. Let's turn to Jimmy's Toyota keys to the game.
No, just like I said, the key to the game tonight is just Carlos being Carlos, going out there and pitching to his ability, do what he can do, not try to control anything other than himself, and not get too amped up for this start that could be a season long start waiting to happen. This could be the big day where get over the hump if San Francisco loses. So just go out there and pitch and control what you can control, and just go out there and do your job.
See the JF-16, remembering Jose Fernandez, as Polanco lines it out to left field. Gregory Polanco, a solid year, and he's aboard.
Ball up in the zone right there, and Gregory Polanco's got a really good swing, Danny. Just easy right here, knowing he's going to probably get a sinker in the first couple pitches and not try to pull it. Does a really good job hitting the ball the other way.
Now Andrew McCutchen, .255 average, numbers way down for him this season. Plays every day. He's popped 24 home runs and he's driven in 77. Runner goes, Molina from his knees, and no chance. Boy, teams have been running all over the place against St. Louis.
Good job by Jed Jerko to keep that one from going into center field. That is a nasty hop he had to play right there. See how much yacht he had on the throw from his knees.
It's stolen base number 17 for Polanco, who is 6'5". That's a big man with speed.
Oof. See that ball skipped off the wet grass.
Carlos Martinez, 3 starts this year against Pittsburgh, 1-2. The record is a bit misleading because the Cardinals have only scored 4 runs in the 2 losses. ERA is right around 2 in those 3 starts. And a late call and a strike, 1-2 on McCutchen.
You hate to see that stolen base so easy right there because Carlos is such a good ground ball pitcher, especially against right-handers.
And the Cardinals have turned over 30 double plays behind him. This is a banged up Pittsburgh club. Cervelli, Mercer, Marte done for the year. Some pretty big names not in this lineup for Clint Hurdle's club. 14th season as a manager with the Rockies, guided the Colorado Rockies to the World Series in 2007 as they eventually lost to the Boston Red Sox. It really turned things around with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Done a really good job of rebuilding, so to speak, and just a good group of young talent. But then you got to keep them all on the field for an entire season, or you end up just kind of whittling back to the pack.
2 balls and 2 strikes. McCutchen with a fly ball into center. There's Grichuk backing up, makes the catch. And now there's 2 outs. It brings in Jung Ho Kang. So last night, here it was. If you did see it, the double that should have been ruled a ground rule double. Carpenter would score. The Cardinals had a walk-off win thanks to Yadier Molina. The rule is this. For instance, if Mike Matheny wants to challenge a play innings 1 through 9, if it's not the final play of the game, he's got 10 seconds to go to the top step, alert the umpiring crew, then a total of 30 seconds. If it's a game-ending play like last night, Brian Price, according to the rule book, has to notify the umpiring crew immediately. Now, what is immediately? That's the gray area. It was 34 seconds before he finally got a hold of the umpiring crew to tell them that it's a ground rule double. We want to take a look at it. By that time, they were through the tunnel and heading back to the umpire's room, and the Cardinals were hurrying up to get off the field and celebrate.
So to speak, everyone was running in different directions, but it is kind of odd that 1 through 9 you have a certain, you know, way to measure your time and everything, and then the game is all on the line and everything's changed. I think that's unusual, but I'll tell you what, every single channel on TV was talking about last night's game.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a little bit of a more awareness to the ruling now than probably there ever was going to be before. It's funny though, in this game, it'll find if there's a flaw somewhere, it'll get brought out into the open. I mean, it's
162 games.
Yeah, and you see when you throw a guy out in the outfield that's really not capable of being out there, what happens? The first ball goes to him.
Right.
You got to put a guy in the infield at first base, first ball goes to him. A weird rule. It took a while, but it got there and definitely sparked up some controversy.
The Pirates strand Polanco. Half inning in the books, and there's no score. The system coming into this season for the Pirates getting the call here tonight. Makes his 2nd start of the year since returning to the rotation, and this will be number 4 overall. Meanwhile, the Cardinals have a lineup that features Matt Carpenter at the top, followed by Aledmys Diaz, then Yadier Molina, Steven Piscotty, Johnny Peralta, Brandon Moss, Jed Jerko, Randall Grichuk, and Carlos Martinez. But Carpenter had a big home run in the series against Cincinnati, in a game in which it featured 5. Cardinals split those 4 games with the Reds, and Matt this year hitting .268. He's popped 20 home runs, driven in 63. There are the numbers for Tyler Glasnow. Made his major league debut, you may recall, right here at Busch Stadium back on the 7th of July. Went 5 1/3 and gave up 4 earned. Adam Duvall last night was the left fielder on that crazy play that ended the game, not realizing that the back signage away from the wall was out of play. It's a ground rule double. I'm curious, you being a tremendous Gold Glove outfielder, did you know the ground rules for most of the ballparks you played at?
Well, I think, to be honest with you, no disrespect to anyone, it's pretty simple. I mean, you can see this field if you just look. There's a difference in the wall and then those signs. And I mean, I've been here long enough to know that you've seen home runs land in that little spot. But all those areas you see right there, the center fielder, especially, I would think they would look over there. He's got even a better angle at that, knowing that bounce up there. But you at least would think that you would try and raise your hands or something and trick them or something. I don't know. It was really confusing that no one said a word. And watching the replay from home, a guy came out of the clubhouse in street clothes, probably because he heard you.
Right.
And when I saw it, my son had said, "Dad, the Cardinals just won." It just came across the whatever internet. And I ran downstairs. I said, "That's impossible. I just walked upstairs 10 seconds ago." And he said, "It says." So I walked back downstairs and saw everyone standing there, and they showed the really quick highlight. And I'm like, "Oh, is it ground rule double? Game's not over." It's the first thing I said. It was so obvious. And so for everyone to miss that and see that, it was crazy. But to answer your question, yes, because I knew going into any stadium that I hadn't played before that I needed to know how the ball was going to bounce off the wall, how the wall felt if you're going to run into it, how hard the track was, and then where are the weird angles and bounces and what could be not necessarily a ground rule double, but a home run.
Sure.
And that was something I learned early, though. I learned that in my first year in the big leagues. I mean, they said, go out there and figure out what it's all about so you don't get a crazy hot board, so something doesn't surprise you.
Aledmys Diaz. You know, Mike Matheny said after the game, his interpretation of the rule, and he was right, is that the manager has to be immediate in terms of getting the umpire's attention to potentially challenge it, which they were not. And what shocked me about it was that if Brian Price had any questions whatsoever, he had nothing to lose by getting the attention of the umpiring crew. So even if it was not a ground rule double, you still don't, you know, lose anything by saying, hey, just take a look at it. But he did, and the Cardinals pick up a much needed win.
I mean, in all fairness to Brian Price too, though,
there's a ground ball hit to short out there, and Diaz safe at first.
You know, when you're down on the field level and you're watching the game at that speed, for me, when I was playing the outfield, I'm watching the ball go, and then I'm watching the runner, and then I'm watching the ball, watching the runner. So his head is going back and forth. He might not necessarily even have seen where the ball had hit the wall at that time, because he's probably trying to watch. Oh, do we have a chance? Do we have a chance?
Sure.
You know, you're really, as every player on the field's watching the runner and the ball flight at the same time, and you're trying to match up the distance, you know, how everything is closing to home plate, and trying to figure out if the ball is going to get back into the plate in time. So he probably didn't even see the ball bounce off the wall, in all fairness to him. But someone out there has to, and especially the left fielder and the center fielder for sure, maybe even the shortstop.
We see Josh Bell in right field. We've seen Molina time and again go to right, and Bell may be playing too deep. And a big gap on the infield. Molina's so good at guiding a ball through the right side of the infield. Cardinals a couple of times on this homestand have tried to hit and run, and this would be a likely candidate to do that. Pretty good speed at first with Diaz, and Molina, who rarely strikes out, puts the ball in play. The 1-0. 2 balls and no strikes. The Pirates come in having won 9 of 16 against the Cardinals this year, and that includes 5 of 7 here at Busch Stadium. Now they would need to sweep the Cardinals to avoid their first losing campaign since 2012. The 2-0 pitch. Molina grounds it to short. Could be 2 out there. The turn and a double play. Rodriguez, Hansen, Jaso. And the Cardinals are through in the bottom of the first, and there's no score here from Busch Stadium. 3 to go in the regular season, and the Cardinals 1 game back of San Francisco. New York a game in front of the Giants. Bumgarner going tonight against Rich Hill, who's been very good for LA. Madison has started 4 times this year against the Dodgers. The Dodgers have won all 4 of those games. Clayton Kershaw will go tomorrow. Kenta Maeda will pitch on Sunday. There's a swing and a miss by John Jaso.
Just a little swing.
He's primarily been their leadoff man this year because of his on-base percentage abilities. Like that, base hit into right. The second hit given up by Carlos Martinez. With MLB.TV Premium, you can see every out-of-market game this weekend live in high definition on more than 400 supported devices, and enjoy a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV. I love watching this guy play. Can play anywhere on the field, and I mean anywhere, and play at a high level defensively. Primarily a bench player. He's come in a lot. Games late for Clint Hurdle, first base, third base, the outfield. He's at shortstop.
Such a good athlete.
Very good athlete.
Good feet.
And you probably know his father pretty well, who is a manager in the Cardinals minor league system. Because I know that you two have talked in spring training like we all have, and he is very, very proud of his son.
I mean, why would you not be this?
Man.
Like you said, this young man is some kind of athlete. He does pretty much everything that is asked.
And a base hit out to left. Let's check in with Jim Hayes, who has some pretty big news for Cardinal fans.
Yeah, Dan, John Mozeliak pointing out that no final decision on Matt Holliday has been made. But he said he told Holliday that it's unlikely the team would pick up his option. As Mozeliak put it, it's unfortunate, but nothing lasts forever, especially in sports. He did say that Holliday asked to be activated in the hopes of having what could be a final moment with the fans here in St. Louis. The Cardinals did that and are eager to give Matt that moment, even as they fight for a playoff spot. Mike Matheny said you try to make sure you don't have any regrets about what you should have tried to do. Dan asked if Holliday is capable of coming through if called upon to hit in a key situation. Mike said, I don't think throwing him in there is a stretch by any means.
Holliday classics and where he ranks among Cardinal greats all time, and it has been a contract that has been fulfilled by the player, beneficial to him, paid him over $100 million, but also he provided big moments and big numbers for St. Louis.
It's always a hard thing at the end of your career, but which it's not the end of his career, I don't think, but later in your career when the kind of the dollar value and how much you can play or how much you have played, and I think it's the hardest part as a player is you always know you can go out there and play, but then the organization says either, well, you know, we were trying to do something else, or maybe this is time, but it's always a hard decision on both sides, and especially for the player. The reality of, okay, now what? Now what am I going to do? Where do I want to play? For how much? For how long?
What's my role?
What's your role going to be?
Here's a 2-0 pitch to Hansen. Hit to the right side, diving stop by Jerko. That saves a run, takes a hit away. Runners at the corners now with 1 out.
It's a really
only 1 out, Mike.
Really tough situation for Mo, because he's got to make a hard decision with a guy who's been pretty much the anchor of his team for a long time, and then, like I said, the player on the other hand has to now come to grips with what he really wants to do with his career.
July 24th of 2009 is when Matt Holliday got to St. Louis. As Eric Fryer will dig in, and in terms among left fielders in Major League Baseball, I was talking to John Paul Morosi. He'll be on the call on Fox tomorrow. I said, you can look it up. left fielders, he's been the best numbers wise in the game. There's a strike to Fryer. Spent time with the Cardinals, did a very nice job, and then picked up by Pittsburgh. Cardinals activated Brian Pena, and then right after that, Pena went back on the DL, and the Cardinals were short with their backup catcher because Fryer was gone. Here's the 0-1.
He did a really nice job.
Sure did.
Caught, he hit when he was asked to. Came in and some blowouts. I mean, those, talking about Mo, I mean, he's on the spot today, but it's on some decisions to be made that always aren't going to be popular. And then there always is what if. What if a guy like Fryer gets picked up? What if Matt is super healthy next year and goes on probably like he's capable? I mean, those situations are tough on not only on a general manager, but the entire front office for the Cardinals, because I'm sure that Mo, being Mo, is not making these decisions on his own. So I wouldn't like to be in those shoes when those hard decisions are made.
2-1. He is a strike. 2-2. Glasnow is the pitcher, and he's on deck. It's not only Jose Fernandez 16 on that cap, but the OT 18 on the cap of Carlos Martinez for Oscar Taveras. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And the next by Carlos Martinez. Runner goes. Swung on and missed. No throw. That'll be a stolen base for Henson. Runners at second and third. 2 outs and the pitcher coming up. I would also add to the Holliday situation away from baseball. Very, very charitable with his time, his money. He's made an incredible impact in the community with Homers for Health, and that's just a small part of what he's done. And I guarantee fans don't realize the amount of time that he has spent with children and sick kids, and does not want the publicity for it. But I'm going to give it to him now. I mean, he has done it time and again, especially late at night after games end. He's driving home and he just pops in the hospital. He did it all the time. Yeah, so if this is truly it, he will be missed.
And his wife Leslie does a great job, as she's raising the kids most of the time on her own with Matt being on the road. But you see everything that they do, and they do it as a group, and it is nice when you see a family come from out of nowhere, jump right into the community along with the team, and really make a name for themselves in this city.
0-2 the count, and the next by Martinez. He struck him out. The Pirates strand 2, held off the board. Back-to-back Ks. Fryer, then Glasnow, and the Cardinals coming up in the home half of the second. Later tonight, Rich Hill, Madison Bumgarner. Hill, by the way, for the Dodgers, 3 starts against the Giants at a .82 ERA. And you know the Dodgers would love nothing more than to knock the Giants out of postseason play.
Talk to people around town and talk to people on both sides of the spectrum here and actually on the West Coast. And it's funny because people think that, oh, they're playing the Dodgers and they've won, they're just going to write it in. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. You never know what's going to happen. And the guy holding the baseball out on the mound does not want to take a loss ever. So it's a long 3-game series to be played on both ends.
Piscotty, hard hit. How about that pick? Sean Rodriguez. Wow, what a play. Tremendous at shortstop. I'm telling you, this guy can play anywhere.
It's always interesting to me to see this play again with amazing hands right there. How a guy like this just ends up being a backup infielder or a backup player or a guy on the bench player for so long. I mean, there's obviously things that we don't see. Maybe over time he doesn't really, gets into slumps, or just a lot of guys are just meant to go out there a couple days here and a couple days there, or they kind of lose it. But you just watch guys like that and see in awe of his athletic ability and wonder, okay, why not this guy?
Why not an everyday player?
Yep.
Peralta swing and a miss on a big breaking ball by Glasnow. See the shift the Pirates using here with Peralta. And because of that, the first baseman, John Jaso, has got a pretty long way to go to get back to the bag at first and receive a throw.
You're the first baseman and you move over that far, you kind of usually tend to move in and over. He's kind of still pretty deep and over. Long run, but probably knowing Johnny doesn't run that well. He's not a speedster. Got a little bit extra time.
Pirates, one of those teams that shift just about as much as anybody in the major leagues, and even inside and at bat, which they've done here with the second baseman Hansen. Now with 2 strikes, goes back to a normal spot of second. That just missed. He began the at bat right behind the bag.
It's funny to see the shift change so much because, you know, usually straight up you just kind of shift a little over a foot or 2 or a step, 2 strikes, but he's got to move 20 feet.
This time last year I was in Clint Hurdle's office and I said, what turned it all around? And he said, the final year of my deal, final year of our GM's deal. And we said together, what we're doing isn't working. So they want us to buy into sabermetrics and analytics. We might as well give it a crack, because if not, we're going to get fired anyway. And so they actually started to travel a quote unquote coach to explain to the players why they do what they do with all these crazy shifts. And
Saber
all of a sudden,
coach.
it started to work. And he's still here.
It's crazy because a lot of people do not like that.
3-2, slowly hit Rodriguez. Take a look at the Pirates defensively here tonight. Polanco, McCutchen, and Bell. That trio in the outfield. Then Gung, Rodriguez, Hansen, and Jaso on the infield, and Eric Fryer is behind the plate. And Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs. So here you go, your first baseman. You better hustle, hurry, get there. And he does. I think, though, to your point, you can't do that
with a speedy
with
runner.
a speedy guy, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, you saw, like, I think that the difference is you just really have to bust. Like, your first step has to be to the bag. You've taken, all of a sudden now going right or left is not the option. You're hoping the ball's going to be hit to the other side of the infield, and that's kind of what you're leaning on. So your first step is almost right to the bag, because now you have to concentrate on a ground ball, just running straight at the bag with your head down to get there and turn around and find it, versus taking a couple nice easy steps and watching the ball bounce to the infield and who's going to have it. So
Brandon Moss is in some kind of funk. He is 7 for his last 96. Did not play last night. It was Jose Martinez in left field. So because of that, the average has dipped to 224. He is one back of Jed Jerko for the home run lead of the Cardinals. Well, you think of a run like that and you're trying everything you can in the cage, and sometimes you just wonder, are you reinforcing bad habits? The mental aspect of it. I mean, everything that goes into a run like this.
Slumps are an amazing part of the game. I mean, it is mind-boggling trying to get out of them. And like you said, sometimes you just got to walk away from the cage and do nothing.
The first pitch here, the top of the third, is taken for a strike by Josh Bell. Struck out swinging first time up. Robert Gesellman, Alec Asher, the pitchers tonight with the Mets and the Phils. The Mets thought about Bartolo Colon, who only threw 47 pitches on Monday in Miami. And they're thinking that either Cologne or Syndergaard would get the start on Wednesday if they get in. If the Mets win 2 of 3 this weekend, regardless what the Cardinals or the Giants do, they clinch a playoff berth and host the wild card. That play made by the first baseman Matt Carpenter, and there's one away. We're talking about the slugger Matt Holliday and being honored at some point this weekend. The Phillies will do that with St. Louis native Ryan Howard. Phillies, like the Cardinals with Holliday, they hold an option on his contract, but all indications point that he's on his way out. He has said that he wants to play beyond this year if there's a taker. You'd have to think it would only be a American League team that would do that. But limited in the fact that he's not going to play more than likely against left-handed pitching.
Nice little DH somewhere.
Yeah. This will be the final weekend for David Ortiz in regular season play at Fenway Park, and a weekend celebration for the Boston DH.
I wonder if a place like that could get a guy like Ryan Howard back to stardom, so to say. Like, just bring the energy back into a guy, you know, that's been hurt, been stuck in the same place for a long time, and sometimes that change of scenery can do a lot for a guy. And sorry, go
2-1
ahead.
pitch hit to the right side, and Jerko puts it away.
And just the part of being basically released, so to speak, too, is like, you know, if you when you don't get your option picked back up, it's kind of like just saying, hey, well, you know, nice knowing you. So for some of these guys, that kind of smack you in the face kind of gets you to go a little harder in the off season and try to prove something, and that can get you a nice little rise back to the top too, and then go to a nice ballpark where great fans, and seen it happen all too many times.
I'll give you a great example right here in St. Louis. Lance Berkman revitalized his career here with the Cardinals. He got in great shape getting ready to go for that first year in St. Louis, and he put up big numbers. Here's a 1-1. 2 balls and a strike on Andrew McCutchen.
And that's what I'm talking about with Matt Holliday too. You know, you hate to let a guy like that go with his ability and being hurt. Now he's got to go out there and he wants to prove himself and prove to everyone he can still play. And sometimes that is that's a good thing for a player to really have to pick back up and start over, and really have to want to go out there and do it for himself and his family and show everyone he can still do it.
The 2-2. McCutchen, a swing and a miss. 4 strikeouts for Carlos Martinez. Midway through 3 of this all-important game. The Pirates nothing. The Cardinals nothing. Jerko, Grichuk, Martinez coming up. Really a neat night in sports. Tamika Catchings also will be honored, and Frank Beverito and his staff with the Sports Commission doing outstanding things to bring in so many different sporting events to St. Louis. No score. Bottom of the 3rd. Jed Jerko with a home run last night, number 28 of the year. Who would have thought that? Jerko with 28 home runs. Majority of those coming in the second half.
Definitely shown he can hit a fastball, huh?
Goodness. Fastball count. He is as good as anybody at taking one of those and parking it in the seats. The shift is on here for Jed. 2 balls and no strikes. Jerko out to deep left. Polanco back. Track. Roll. 1-0 St. Louis.
Danny, like I was saying, he can hit a fastball. The funny thing that I was thinking too is, as you sit up here over the course of the entire season and really watch this team, you like to see a guy on the mound that's throwing 95 miles an hour and getting himself into a 1-0, 2-0 count. And I was about thinking that, and I was like, I'm not going to say it. And there it was.
Pitch to drive, and he takes it out of the ballpark. This is home run number 29 for Jed Jerko. Wow. Here's Randall Grichuk, 3 balls, 1 strike. If not for the umpire's non-ruling of a ground rule double, we may be talking about a misplay in center field last night by Randall Grichuk. And I talked to him earlier today about it. He felt, and I'm telling you folks, he felt awful about what took place. But today's a new day. Cardinals win, you move on. And Grichuk strikes out, swinging through that breaking ball. He took it very hard. But as I reminded him, you know, you guys won. And he said, that's right. And it's a new day.
Thank the Lord, because that would have been a tough night for that young man. And I've been in that position, and those are just tough things that happen when you're out there playing defense, because you were out there on an island sometimes, and then you get a chance to maybe come and help yourself out at the plate, but that's so much tougher to do. They bailed him out last night, thankfully.
Well, Glasnow has now allowed 2 home runs this year, both at Busch Stadium. One by Grichuk and moments ago by Jed Jerko, as Martinez drops to a knee. The Hyundai pitch arsenal on Tyler Glasnow. Nothing fancy. It's a hard fastball, wind right, mid to high 90s, curve and change. Good breaking ball and a strikeout of Carlos Martinez. Back-to-back Ks and 3 tonight.
He's got a good feel for that curveball. He's starting to use it a little bit more, and then see the velocity in the fastball slowly climbing up to that 96 miles an hour. Started off around 92, 93, and starting to get a feel for his pitches now.
Carpenter walked his first time up. Second time through the order starts now. And the first pitch is taken for a strike. Glasnow's numbers in June in the minor leagues were just ridiculous. 30+ innings, a total of 8 hits allowed, and that's when they said, all right, he's done enough, let's bring him to the big leagues.
And I was just going to say, I looked over his stats just really quickly, but the first thing that stuck out to me is a 2.03 over 5 years in the minor leagues. That is tough to do.
You would think maybe that first or second year you get knocked around a little bit.
Yep. The high ERA for him over the course of 5 years at a very short stint was 3.72.
Right.
And that was very short.
As it was told to me, he was a man among boys this year in the minor leagues, and there really wasn't much more he could do or accomplish in the minor leagues, so they brought him up. Pitch taken low at 97. Now, one of the issues that they've had recently, and he's had good velocity tonight, but at times he'll get into that third and fourth inning as a starter and it drops even below 90. And that last pitch at 97. 3-1. And the second walk issued to Matt Carpenter. Well, if you're looking for storylines of this year, and still the story being told of the Cardinals of 2016, this is one of the nice stories. The emergence of their shortstop, Aledmys Diaz. 2 outs, runner at first, and a breaking ball taken for a strike. Rounded into a fielder's choice his first time up. All kinds of room on that right side of the infield. Molina is on deck. Good fastball at 95. Diaz walking away and shaking his head. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks.
I think not only is that 95, I think he has a little deception. He's got a little bit of a long arm. Looks like he has a little bit of life at the end of his fastball. See a couple guys in fastball situations late.
Backing up the third baseman Young, and a force play at second. The 100th home run at home this year hit by the Cardinals. The first time ever at Busch Stadium 3. Jed Jerko has given the Cardinals a 1-0 lead. Jim Hayes. Jimmy.
Danny, last night was kind of surreal, waiting to do the on-the-field interview with Yadier Molina, who had just hit what appeared to be the game-winning double. We waited as our guys in the truck made sure that the wind would stand. We waited. Many of the Reds were still on the field and in the dugout. Yadi asked me, what's going on? For that moment, no one was quite sure. Waited a little longer. Yadi finally said, I think I should go in, and I agreed. Yadi did say he was eager to get inside to hear how his brother called the action on the Cardinals Spanish language radio broadcast, and he was very excited to hear Benji.
Yeah, I would imagine, Jimmy, that when you were down there, the players were saying, hey, let's get in the showers. Let's go. Hurry up.
You know, in fairness, though, they did have their little celebration, and then they skedaddled. And Yadi waited and waited a little more, and he was like, he was the only guy out there. He's like, yeah, I think I should go in. I was like, yeah, I think you should too, Yadi.
Good stuff, Jimmy. Nice play by Stephen Piscotty in right field. There's Benji Molina on the right.
I'm glad you said the right.
You know Benji pretty well from your days in Anaheim.
Yeah, what a great guy. I mean, the Molina brothers as a group couldn't be, first of all, better people, but better catchers and better teammates. And I mean, they're as good as it gets.
All three have won a World Series ring.
Pretty impressive.
Benji told me that they all felt Yadi was the best, but Yadi was a third baseman and pitcher growing up, and then did not convert to catching until his middle teens. And I think they made the right choice.
He probably had a cannon on the mound, huh?
Probably throwing mid-90s. Here's Jaso. Pitch is popped up and out of play. He singled to right his first time up. We've had great feedback from the Spanish-speaking crowd that are bilingual, that had a chance to listen into the radio broadcast last night. Really enjoyed it as Jaso strikes out, and that's 5 tonight for Carlos Martinez. The Cardinals defense around the horn is presented by Dobbs. It's Moss, Grichuk, Piscotty in the outfield. Peralta, Diaz on the left side. Jerko and Carpenter on the right side. Molina is behind the plate. And remember how this season began. The idea was we need to find someone to back up Yadier Molina and give him time off. Well, he will set his games caught record this season and shatter his innings caught record. I mean, there's no one even close. There's Alberto Rosario and Brian Pena. Carson Kelly has been called up. And the 0-2 is popped up to the right side. Long way to go for Jerko in foul territory. And it's Carpenter who makes the catch. A 10 pitch. Top of the fourth. 1-0 St. Louis. So a Prairie Farms ice cream sundae in the Ford Plaza. That's all coming up this Sunday as we wrap up the regular season. Here's Yadier Molina. Rounded into a 6-4-3 double play his first time up. And a breaking ball taken high. Mets are in the top of the 8th and leading the Phillies by the score of 3-1. Later tonight, the Giants at AT&T Park. A chance for Yadier Molina to hit above 300 for the 5th time in his career. Great April, tailed off in May and June, and well above 300 July, August, and finishing with a flourish here in September. I thought you're supposed to wear down playing that position.
I was thinking how impressive that is, because especially in that position in this city,
the heat
in this division, with the heat, and then the amount of innings. That's super impressive.
And the hands, they get beat up. You know, just something
the chest,
as simple, yeah,
shoulders, the elbows.
Something as simple as just grabbing a bat. Pulls it foul. Watch out. A little power as well. Last night, it was Yadier Molina's 8th home run. And Benji loved it, and so did Yadi.
I feel like when I'm sitting at home too, watching the games on TV, I see him get hit
a lot
by foul balls every time, and a good one in the thigh or the elbow, or right along the top of the chest protector. Those have to take a toll after a while. I mean, there's just no hiding from anything back there.
The breaking ball just gets away. That may have missed the protective gear too on the elbow and got him on the tricep. So the Cardinals have the leadoff man on, and now it's Stephen Piscotty, grounded out to short, first time up. And there's strike one. You told me all the way back in spring training in Jupiter, when you were in uniform, you said Stephen Piscotty gets it. He's going to have a very good year, and he has.
And I expect him next year and the year after to just keep getting better, average especially.
Yeah, he was hovering right around that 300 mark for the better part of this year. Then had a 2 to 3 week period where it dipped to 274, but he's knocked out 22 home runs. He's driven in 83.
Few injuries, he starts to become the guy you pitch around. As a young player, that's really hard to recognize at times. So yeah, I just think that numbers are just going to go up.
Now the 0-2, a little bit high. It's the final weekend of Turner Field, and it's an interleague game, an interleague series. The Braves and Detroit, the Tigers a game and a half out in the wild card. Seattle 2. Tied atop the American League wild card, so if the season ended today, these two would be in. The Baltimore Orioles and the Toronto Blue Jays, both with identical records of 87 and 72. Detroit with a 5-0 lead. Turner Field, it feels like to me it just opened up, and now they're moving out.
Time is going by fast for you, huh?
I'm telling you. Outside of Wrigley, there's not a lot of older ballparks in the National League anymore. And Turner Field wasn't old. 2-2 hit to Rodriguez. 6-4-3 on the double play. And it brings in Johnny Peralta, grounded out to short softly, back in the second inning. So 2 outs, nobody on. And the first pitch to Peralta is to the backstop. Glasnow not very sharp in his last start. That was against the Washington Nationals. 4 runs, 3 earned, 3 innings of work, as the Pirates have limped to the finish line. You played a number of years in the big leagues, and now if you're in the Cardinals' perspective and looking at this, you're in the final weekend, you haven't wrapped anything up, but after a long 6, and if you include spring training, 7 months, you're still playing meaningful baseball the final weekend of the regular season. You come to the ballpark with something to play for.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the game that you thrive for. It's one of those parts that you just live for at the end of the season. You've got to play for something come the last couple of weeks of the season, and it's a very fortunate position to be in. But the other side of the deal is it's a grind. It really is. And I remember talking to Stephen Scotty a month ago, and he said, man, this is a grind. Like, it's every day is important, and it's something that some of the younger players aren't used to, and it really is mentally draining as well as physically. And sometimes mentally is tougher on your body because it just wears you out head to toe, and not just having some sore legs at the end of the day. So I mean, it is definitely, it works both ways. But gosh, at the end of the season right here with 3 games left and really having the season on the line, you got to be ready to go, and you got to love it.
It's fun. It's the way it should be.
For sure.
Here's Brandon Moss. He struck out his first time up. That pitch gets away from Fryer and into the seats. It sneaks through a hole in the screen. So Peralta advances to second on the wild pitch by Glasnow.
Ooh.
Looked like he wasn't sure which way he wanted to turn the glove.
As a catcher, you don't really think that you're going to spike a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. So, and watching the games over the course of a year, I think you can really pay attention to the catcher at home and know if there's a fastball or a slider or a breaking ball coming just by the way the catcher sets up, obviously. But you can go ahead and watch him. When you see a fastball, he's going to be nice and comfortable and just really expecting a fastball to be around the zone a little bit. And then the breaking ball, he'll get down a little bit lower like that, expecting maybe to get the ball bounced right there. Slider can be just a little bit in the dirt. And you can kind of watch the game at home and know what's going on just by watching the catcher. So to see somebody spike a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, it doesn't really give the catcher much time to make a reaction.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Brandon Moss with the shift. And Moss hits a fly ball out to shallow left. Polanco puts it away, and Brandon is 0 for 2. Cardinals strand their second runner of the night. A Jed Jerko home run, the difference so far. We head to inning number 5, and it's 1-0. Cardinals have a lead of 1-0. Trying to keep pace with the San Francisco Giants and the New York Mets. Alan Hansen grounded into a fielder's choice his first time up. Martinez has allowed just 3 hits. He struck out 5, has not walked a man, and pitched out of early trouble. Cardinals have just 1 hit, and that 1 hit, a big one. Jerko's home run to foul ball. Trying to bunt his way on. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
I like what I see from Carlos as this season has kind of progressed. He's starting to pitch in a little bit more to lefties, trying to speed them up. And you saw right there went fastball in and then breaking ball. It's such a big difference for a pitcher to be able to pitch in effectively and get hitters to really have to speed up enough just to kind of have your breaking ball be the ultimate weapon when you need it.
Well, what were you talking about with those foul tips?
I was just going to say, there you go right there. Saw one the other night and inside of the knee, inside of the thigh, one down by the ankle. See the change up here, just gets him out in front enough to tip it. little bit off the toe and maybe a little underneath the umpire.
Yeah, and some fan at home will say, well, he's got protective gear on. What's the big deal? Well, it still hurts.
Well, look at that protective gear. It's half sideways. You can tell right there just enough. Sometimes that gear, you know, it's the gear is sitting on top of your foot, and that ball's round. I mean, it doesn't necessarily hit right on top of the gear. Or if it hits a little bit off to the side, you can see it kind of blow off, kind of kick the gear, and it still has some force coming down on your toes. And those bones in your toe are, it's no joke when you get a foul ball off that.
Strikeout number 6 for Carlos Martinez. The Chevy Fox tracks look to be outside, but the Cardinals will take it. And it brings in Eric Fryer. Struck out with runners at first and third and only 1 out. Back in inning number 2. He's rejoined the Pirates and hitting just .211 in that time frame. We saw him a lot in spring training as the Cardinals try to curtail the workload of Yadier Molina. So you saw a lot of Eric Fryer, who met Mike Matheny at a parade in their hometown. They both are from Reynoldsburg, Ohio. They forged a friendship. Eric had big league time with the Minnesota Twins, albeit brief, and showed pretty well in spring training. Here's a 1-1. Broken bat, slowly hit. Wow, what a play, Johnny Peralta. Well, the other thing we saw with Fryer is that for a catcher, he runs well.
He runs really well. What a great play by Johnny. I mean, come in to barehand that ball and be able to throw it on the money all in one step. See right here, he's got a bare hand, 1 step, and be able to get it into his fingertips and throw a strike over to first base. And that is not an easy play, especially when a guy like that's running down the line.
1 pitch, and Glasnow should be out. And he is. Another 10-pitch inning for Carlos Martinez as Molina limps towards the Cardinals dugout. Midway through 5, Redbirds on top. Take his warm-up tosses here for the bottom of the 5th inning. Jed Jerko, a home run. He now has 29. That's the most by a Cardinals non-first baseman infielder since Scott Rowland hit 34 back in 2004. And again, it's back-to-back games in which he's hit a home run. He's done that 7 times this year. Streaky, very streaky.
I mean, it's been impressive. And like I said, this is like when you see the game this close every night, and you, as a player, when you have teammates that you know that they excel in certain things, it's like Scott, like you mentioned, Scott Rowland. When I was on second base and I knew a certain pitcher was going to throw Scott Rowland a slider in a situation with 2 outs and a runner on scoring position, I knew he was going to get a hit. I knew he was going to drive that run in. I mean, it's like clockwork. And you see Jerko get a guy that throws hard, straight fastball, and he's going to put a good swing on it. And it gets exciting to watch those matchups over the course of the season. See how many times a guy goes out there and does his job and does it really well.
He's been aggressive this year, very early in counts. And as we talked about in his first plate appearance, he's just destroying fastballs. Majority of his home runs have come on the fastball. So the Cardinals, they got the power of Jed Jerko, which has been a storyline this year, and the emergence of Martinez being a frontline starter, and he's lived up to the billing of that tonight. So Jed is average at 240, but the power numbers very good. I think what's surprising is that he has 29 home runs. Now, if you have 29 home runs, usually your RBI total is greater than 59.
Yeah, is that a lot of solo shots?
Yeah.
I'd just like to see him get to 30.
It's kind of a magical number to get to the 30 home runs or 100 RBIs, 30 stolen bases.
Especially for a guy like this who's supposed to be a bench player like we talked about in the open. Come in to really just make your team stronger. And Powell, look, there he goes. 30 home runs, a lot of home runs.
It's a lot of home runs. They have been crucial ones too. You know, game tying home runs, game winning home runs. He had the incredible stretch against his former team, the Padres, whether it be in San Diego or certainly here in the doubleheader against the Padres at Busch Stadium. The 2-2. He's played third base, shortstop, second, a little bit of first base too. That's part of the story as to why they brought him into St. Louis, to give the Cardinals versatility and National League, the double switches. In the dirt, and it's walk number 4 issued by this tall right-hander.
You hit a fastball like that, buy you some curveballs to walk on.
Absolutely. So the pitching of Carlos Martinez out of trouble early on. He has struck out 6. And Jed Jerko supplying the only run in this game. His home run last night was 456 feet. One of the longest of the year. And now it's Randal Grichuk. Grichuk struck out first time up. There's a look at Matt Holliday. And for those of you that have just joined us, we were informed that he was told that the Cardinals more than likely will not pick up his option for next year. They have activated Holliday in the hopes that there could be a moment they could give him a chance to be honored by the crowd, whether it be in a pinch hitting appearance, or maybe he goes out, takes an inning in left field, whatever the case may be. And you know this crowd will give him a standing ovation that he'll never forget. 1 ball and 1 strike. And the breaking ball is in there. He has had a tremendous career in St. Louis. And again, it's not set in stone that he doesn't come back next year.
You never know what's going to happen.
Worked out.
And you never know what's going to happen. Every day things can change around here, and still games left to play and still decisions left to be made.
Here's a 1-2 instead. Time is called by Eric Fryer, the catcher of the Pirates. Called time late. But you look at back when he got here, he had an incredible push in 2009. Really carried the club. And the thought was get him in the environment of St. Louis, and he had heard about it from many others in Colorado that came to St. Louis, namely Larry Walker. Said you're going to love it. As Grichuk hits a high fly ball into left center. The catch made in front of the track. Jerko tagging up from first to second, diving in head first, safe.
See that head first slide right into the knee? That head first slide is tough going into second base with those middle infielders being so active and having to tag guys and moving around. Jed does a good job here tagging up. Hustling into second base with the head first slide here.
Oh yeah.
Right into the knee.
But just to finish the thought on Holliday, you know, he actually then got involved in the contract negotiations and said, look, get a deal done. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to play the majority of my career. And then he was part of the 2011 championship and teams that went to the NLCS and another World Series in 2013. And he has been a tremendous Cardinal, both on and off the field. 1 out runner at second. We were talking before the game. Matt Holliday is a baseball lifer. You know, his family's involved in the game at both the pro level and the collegiate level. It's interesting. I mean, you know, he could retire. He could say, I'm going to come back and play for a different team. He maybe says, I'm willing to accept way less to come back to St. Louis.
It'll be interesting to see too because of the kids. That's such a dad, such a family man. Kids are all in sports, or the boys are in sports. They're, you know, they try to do everything for those kids, and that's going to be a big decision, you know, with school and the homeschooling at times, and moving the kids around and just whatever they have to do to make it work. And I know that's going to really have a big part in his decision also.
It's got to be eating at him too, to be in a pennant race and no, you can't do anything. You know, you can't swing a bat the way that he has to at this level. That pitch taken high by Martinez, and a bit surprising with the 4 walks and a ton of guys available in the bullpen. No one is up and throwing.
Letting this young man try to work his way through this. 75 pitches.
A 3-1 pitch to Martinez, and he chased a ball. Three balls, 2 strikes on Martinez. Struck him out. So now it's a runner at second base. Carpenter has walked a couple of times. The infield with a shift on. The third baseman Gunn well off the line at third base. Breaking ball and strike 1. Frustrating at bat. When you look at Martinez chasing the ball, which would have been ball 4, and having first and second, and Carpenter coming up with only 1 out.
That's the thing that the velocity does for you. Even for a pitcher, probably could have been taking a pitch right there just to see what's going to happen. But that 95, 96 mile an hour velocity gets everyone rushed, and things happen so fast, and just lost perspective right there.
Sean Rodriguez makes the play. So the Cardinals strand their third runner of the night. We head to inning number 6. A Jed Jerko home run, the difference. It's 1-0. In big postseason games, Michael Wacha gets another crack at it tomorrow. We were unsure as to who would make the start for game 2 of this series. It's our Budweiser What's on Tap. And Michael Wacha gets the call for the Cardinals tomorrow. That game will be seen on Big Fox. And then we'll wrap up our portion of baseball on Fox Sports Midwest this Sunday. It's our final telecast of the year. Top of the lineup, and Josh Bell swings through a fastball, and we're underway. Here in the top of the 6th, it's Bell, then Polanco, and McCutchen. To the count. Bell is struck out and grounded out. 0 for 2. Really a highly thought of prospect here for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's in right field tonight. Primarily has gotten time at first base.
They got a few of them, don't they?
Yes, they do. And we talk about the Cardinals and what they might do in the offseason. To me, it's a very interesting, I don't want to say dilemma, but look at the Pirates with Andrew McCutchen. You know, you start getting into that early 30s stage of your career, a lot of mileage on the body. He is in many ways the face of the franchise, and there's another strikeout, the changeup, that's 7, but John Mozeliak there will have big decisions coming up, and the Pirates too. You got to look at, with a small market team, maximizing the trade value of certain players. Sometimes you don't want to make that deal, but you have to.
Yeah, you have to look at your team, you know, year to year, but then you have to do that long haul goal. You know, you got to look at those salaries and how they can escalate and where guys are going to fit in, who's coming up behind them, and what you think you can get, and who's out there on other teams that you might want to grab a hold of. So
sure.
It's got to be unique too, in not being in first place and having to decide, do you just want to kind of make your team a little better each year, and or Cardinals' sake, you got to win. It's a win-win for the fans and for the organization. And so what are we going to do to get better every year? Thought it was interesting watching the Cubs situation with the years that we saw about a month ago when they had the group of, you know, when that new group took over, and then the next year they got a little better, the next year a little better, the next year, each year they just kept getting better and better and put a plan into place.
And the plan was, let's gut this thing, get high draft choices, you know, maybe trade away some of the guys that we're losing with that are good players but commodities for other teams, and get those draft choices or young talent, and they have stockpiled that. The 2-0 pitch to Polanco. But you bring up a very interesting point. In St. Louis, you know, there are fans that are 20 years old that have never heard the term rebuild with the Cardinals. It's reload.
Reload, exactly. And the chance that we've heard it all year that the team hasn't played as well as everyone would like, and we're still on the doorstep of the playoffs, and it's almost unheard of outside of this little circle right here that the team won't make the playoffs. You know, it's just something that we don't talk about because it doesn't happen that often.
I think one thing, though, that is for certain, one way or another, this team has to be better. That's a pitch inside, but has to be better defensively. This is a porous defensive team, and for a ground ball staff, and that's what it is. Martinez and Garcia, Mike Leake, Adam Wainwright.
And it's a big ballpark
that get ground balls.
Yeah, and it's a big ballpark. There's a lot of room to, you know, to cover even on the ground.
Yeah.
And it just, the grass is a little bit thicker at some times of the year, and at some parts of the year, and just you see the shifts, and you have to be athletic and you have to adapt to what's going on. And I always thought this outfield was huge, and then you watch these guys go and throw ground ball after ground ball after ground ball, and then it looks like all of a sudden the infield is huge. You know, you just, whatever your team is going to do, you have to shift into that direction and really go after guys that are going to make your team better defensively because of your pitching staff. And so that's something that's never really had to be done here, because there's never been a staff who's primarily gone out and just been a ground ball staff, or, you know, it's always just been a staff of good pitchers. Not necessarily every guy did something different, not a bunch of guys going and get ground balls and just moving the ball around. You know, it's a unique, but then you can kind of reload in that direction.
Adam Wainwright has been a part of it for a long time, and there's Holliday on the right. 1-0 Cardinals. The walk to Polanco, now 1-0 to McCutchen. That walk is the Pirates' first base runner since back in inning number 2. Martinez had set down 12 straight. Our Academy Sports and Outdoor leaderboard. Most RBI since the 12th of September. McCutchen 15. His teammate Sean Rodriguez 17. 1-1 the count. McCutchen, even with his speed, has grounded into 15 double plays this year. There's that space that you're talking about. Big ballpark. Here's a 1-2. Hit up the middle and past Jerko and into center field. So a walk and now a single, and it brings in Jung Ho Kang.
And not only is it a big ballpark, I think the balls are wound a little tighter this year. You can see the balls have been hit a little bit harder. Balls are carrying a little bit further, getting through the infield faster. So definitely a quicker game now. And I truly believe that. And that's not just a guess. I mean, I've been down the field for 20 years and thrown some balls and seen the way they've been hit, see the noise that they make, or hear the noise that they make, and talk to guys around the league, and it's definitely different. But like I said, you just have to make a change and defend what your strengths are.
That pitch, a strike to Kang. He's fouled out and also flied out to right. 0 for 2 tonight. He has been a Cardinal killer with 5 home runs and 11 driven in against St. Louis this year, and a .361 average. 0-2 the count. You talk about Jed Jerko and turning on a fastball. Same can be said for this man. Very good fastball hitter. The 0-2. And he struck him out. 2 in the inning. 8 tonight for Carlos Martinez.
Tell you what, 96-mile-an-hour fastball, sinker, good sinker, a really sharp slider, and then a nasty changeup right there. That's 3 really good pitches.
Now John Jaso, a single to right, and struck out swinging back in the 4th. Would you say that Martinez, when he's right, is as good as anybody in the league? I mean, anybody. I mean, this guy has got, as you mentioned, 3 quality pitches, and at times plus pitches, and when all 3 are working, he is nasty. 1 ball, 1 strike. That's hit out of play. This crowd will come alive now with 2 strikes on John Jaso. 1-2 the count with 2 runners on. 1-0 our score. The next is a ground ball that's fair, taken by Carpenter, and the Pirates will strand 2, and again Martinez out of the jam. Pittsburgh has stranded 5, and it's 1-0 St. Louis. Decisions that the Cardinals have coming up also may pertain to the pitching staff. We talk about 1 through 8, but Cardinals will get a big boost next year from the crusty veteran that is Lance Lynn. And Lynn was throwing mid-90s here in September, and the Cardinals shut him down, and he goes in knowing you have a healthy offseason, and he could have a huge say in what the Cardinals do next year. He's that good.
Yeah, you know what, though? I'm just not really sure about Lance Lynn. I really question the fact that he's probably sitting downstairs listening to us right now, because I'm getting text messages from him and Pete. But I want to see his work ethic, you know, get through the winter. And no, I'm all kidding aside. Like, he's one of those guys that you cannot wait to see get back, and know he's got a long winter ahead of him. Prove back. Another guy has to prove. He's going to want to prove he belongs. He's ready to go and healthy, and it should be fun to see how he shows up in the camp next year.
I think this team has missed that edge that he provides, and obviously one of the better pitchers when healthy in baseball. This is our Chevy call to the pen. Trevor Williams did make 1 start for the Pirates. That's an error on Jaso, and so Diaz is aboard. It was Jaso's 5th error this year. Diaz is a threat to steal. 4 stolen bases this year. The Hyundai pitch arsenal for this right-hander: fastball, slider, and change. Molina is grounded into a double play, was hit by a pitch back in inning number 4.
Tell you what, the guy's got the biggest offseason is Pete Prinzi. I mean, really, this guy's going to get these young guys back into shape over the course of the offseason. And some of these young kids got a chip on their shoulder. Playing time was kind of limited. I know guys want it. Like I said, I think this thing about proving yourself is a big motivator in the course of the offseason.
Well, the Cardinals just wanted to hit. Do you think hit and run here? Try to get something going. That one hit, though, a pretty big one. That was in the bottom of the 3rd. And a Randall Grichuk solo home run. All kinds of room to that right side of the infield. Diaz, good speed. He's at first base. And the 1-0 pitch to Molina. Driven out to left center field. It's well hit. That ball is down. Off the wall. Diaz flying around 3rd. He'll score. And Yachty makes it 2-0 St. Louis. Well, clearly that's not a ground rule double. Thank goodness.
Or close to being one.
Right.
Very simple call out there with only one wall or one fence.
It looked like that the Pirates, they wanted to take a look at it just to make sure that. Nice. Oh, very nice. They wanted to make sure that that wasn't touched by a fan, or if Diaz touched 3rd base, the call is made by the home plate umpire on that appeal, and it is a ruling of safe. So the RBI for Yadier Molina, number 57. And now Piscotty, one of the best in all of baseball with runners in scoring position. 0 for 2 tonight. You know, you're talking about Pete Prinzi, the strength and conditioning coach of the Cardinals, and you know, Pete's been around forever, it seems like, one of the real good people in our sport. And it makes you think about the guys behind the scenes of a long year. We talk so much about the players and the coaching staff and the manager, but it is the medical team, it is guys like Pete that play a big part in getting the Cardinals close to the playoffs.
Every day is a record, and those guys go out there and day in and day out work with the players. And the funny thing is, people ask a lot about coaching.
Inside out swing, base hit. Here comes Molina. Piscotty on his way to second. 3-0 St. Louis.
Inside out, good inside out swing. I mean, Steven Piscotty, I mean, even the first swing that he swung through and missed, it just stays inside the ball. You never see him try to go out there and yank in a big situation, try to do anything extra special. He just waits for a pitch to hit, stays inside the ball, and tries to do something that he's capable of doing.
Jared Hughes, right-hander for the Pirates, getting loose in their pen. The inning started with the error by Jaso off the bat of Aledmys Diaz. Molina a double into left center to score Diaz, and now Piscotty the double to score Yachty. These fans having a little fun on this Friday night.
Danny, I was saying that people approach me about trying to be a coach in the future. Would I ever think about it? I tell people a lot, you have no idea how much time coaches and training staff and guys, equipment managers, and people in the clubhouse spend at the ballpark and away from their families, and are doing things way before the players are here.
Here's Peralta, and a pitch taken inside. Molina's 159th hit, tied for the second most in a single season for him back in 2012. He had 161. Here's a 1-0 pitch to the Cardinal third baseman. Ground ball hit left side, and Piscotty has to stay put. The bold and refreshing frozen strawberry lemonade is back, and it's only available at McDonald's. Rip Rowan, Mark Walsh, Ernie Moore, Andy, and the rest of the gang that work every day, and many of them travel with us behind the scenes, the equipment men and managers of the Cardinals. One out and a runner at second base. Hit sharply but foul. Those guys have turned into some of our best friends in the world.
You definitely want those guys on your side.
Oh yeah.
It'll be a long year without any help.
Melody out on the right. There's Brian Bartow on the left. The outstanding PR department of the Cardinals. In the dirt, kept in front. Home run by Jed Jerko. RBI double Molina. RBI double Piscotty. 3-0 Cardinals. 1-1 is hammered. Deep right. Gone! Two-run homer. Brandon Moss. That's how you bust out. Finally, he says. Yes, give it to me. Please.
It's a
Moss crushed it.
Hanging cutter, hanging slider. He'd take the whole bucket right there for the team. He hits some bullets, doesn't he?
Oh, man.
It's the hanging cutter slider, rifles it into the stands, and like you said, he's saying finally. It's not even just getting the hit, too. Sometimes it's just feeling a good swing and good solid contact.
Brandon Moss, home run number 28. RBIs 66, 67. It got out in a hurry. 5-0 Cardinals. Well, the new pitcher is in for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Jared Hughes. 5-0 Cardinals. St. Louis picking up 4 runs here in the bottom of the 6th. Jed Jerko got it all started for the Cardinals. It was Jerko's solo home run, number 29, back in the third. And the numbers on Hughes, his 66th appearance of the year. 0-2 the count. What a relief it must be right now for Brandon Moss.
I'm telling you, that's just the feeling of just hitting the ball on the barrel of the bat. It's such a good relief. You can sometimes make an out in that situation and feel good about yourself, and it can help you out.
Home run pitch is Jerko, made it 1-0 Cardinals. And then the 2-run shot moments ago, Brandon Moss, a no-doubter. And Jerko swings and misses. So Hughes is pitcher number 3 tonight for the Pirates. Holliday pitch arsenal, the fastball, slider, and change from the right-hander.
It's like he's still breathing heavy for that, from that run in from the bullpen.
Here's Grichuk. He's 0 for 2. The Cardinals with only 4 hits tonight, but 5 runs, and that has been the offense this year. Quick strikes, home runs.
Pretty nice when you can drop 4 on them in a hurry. Look what a leadoff air does, or like a walk, and then you get a double and a double. Ground ball and a homer.
So Jerko now with 29 home runs. Moss right behind him with 28. And the 1-2. And Grichuk strikes out. Big inning for the Cardinals. They pick up 4 runs. RBI double by Molina. RBI double by Piscotty. 2-run homer by Moss. 5-0 St. Louis. So Jerko a home run, Moss a home run. And the Cardinals have a 5-0 lead here in the top of the 7th. Later tonight, San Francisco and Los Angeles. How about Jimmy being in the spot, and you've been there before, the 06 club, where you're the team being chased, and all of a sudden, as a slow roller hit to the right side, you're the Giants. You haven't even played your game yet, and you look up, and right now it's a 5-0 lead. By the time they take the field, could be game over, where the Cardinals have posted a win. What's that like in the Giants' position?
Well, the good news is for the Giants is they have a game to give, so to speak, and then they can just really go out and focus on playing their game. But you don't want to ever give up ground, ever. I mean, even in the middle of the season, you want to keep your lead, and at any time you just want to keep the distance. Is so hard to keep over the course of a season. Every game is important. That's why they talk about every game's important. But yeah, I think there's a little added pressure, but luckily for a baseball player, short memory, every game's the same, so it's like it's something you're used to, and there's always tomorrow. But there's a little added pressure knowing that that team has just, if you don't play well tonight, you're tied.
Alex Hansen with a base hit into right field.
And I think the scary thing about baseball is, and it's been said so many times, but it's so true, and it's so much, the saying is so underrated. Anything can happen at any given time, and so you can't say, oh, we got tomorrow, because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So it definitely, I think, it's crazy that you see the American League was tied the wild card standings are tied, and then you see 3 teams fighting it out for 2 spots in the National League. I think it's doing what they meant it to do, but it's also nerve-wracking for the teams that are in the middle of it.
It's nerve-wracking. You don't think Mike Matheny is losing sleep at night? John Mozeliak, some of these players, and you know the fans, they're into every pitch right now.
I think you really just, I mean, you really lay it on the line. You throw your team out there. You do the best you can do for 9 innings, and you really just leave it at that. I mean, you can't really worry about what if.
Runner goes, and Molina can't get it out of the glove, and a stolen base for Hansen. That's his first. I think it goes to the point of just get in, because if you get in, anything truly can happen. You know, if you're the Cubs, you haven't been playing meaningful games in 2 weeks. You're going to have a little layoff before that first game of the division series, and all of a sudden a team goes in there that's had to fight, scratch, and crawl to get in there, and they play going for broke. They steal a game at Wrigley, and all of a sudden it feels a lot different.
Yep.
That is a foul ball off the bat of Eric Fryer.
And I think too, like, Joe Maddon's got a tough job of keeping guys with at bats. I mean, you want to at least get your guys out there for here and there, maybe a couple days off, but down the stretch you want to see, you know, you also know you got to know your personnel. I know one time at the end of the year we were going into the playoffs and I hadn't been playing particularly well, and Tony said, you know, what do you want to do the last couple days? I said, I don't want to play. And he said, why not? I said, I need a break. I want to stop hitting. I want to get away from it all. And he said, you're crazy. And I go, no, trust me. And so game of the day off, he was unhappy. He was like, it's fan appreciation day. I was like, I'm sure these fans would appreciate it if we win some games in the playoffs. But he was mad at me, and then I ended up hitting like 500 in the first series, and I said, I know my body, I know what I need. You know, I'm 32 years old or whatever it was at the time, and yeah, I think that, and you got to, like I said, you got to know your personnel. So you got to know if a guy really needs to stay in there and battle, get a couple at bats like the end of spring training, or a guy can truly take a couple days off and dial it back up.
Here's Matt Joyce, the pinch hitter here for the Pirates. Eric Fryer struck out, and that's 9 tonight for Carlos Martinez. Cardinals needed a big start, and they have gotten it. 101 pitches this far for Carlos Martinez. You're up by 5 runs, and you'd love to see if the Cardinals could give Segrist and a night off as well to get ready for a quick turnaround for tomorrow and then day game on Sunday. I really like what baseball has done. And you talked about how they've created excitement here with the wild card, but on Sunday all games will start at 3:15 Eastern. So if you have a ticket for Sunday's game, it's a rare start time at 2:15 here at the ballpark. As Joyce lifts a fly ball into right, Martinez 7 scoreless innings. Time to stretch. 5-0 Saint. When you look at the Pirates and the Cardinals, and here's Holliday
leading off, batting for the pitcher Martinez, number 7, Matt Holliday.
fighting back tears in what could be his final plate appearance for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Everybody up on that front step, watching, knowing what is going on.
Holliday out to deep right. Yes, yes, yes. He did it in what could be his final plate appearance in St. Louis. An opposite field home run. Unbelievable. The reaction of his teammates. And with that, it's another pinch hit home run for the Cardinals, and a remarkable one for one of the great Cardinals in recent history in what could be his final plate appearance wearing that Cardinals uniform. I can't believe he just did that.
Wow.
Not many dry eyes in that dugout for what has been a team leader, an inspiration for many of the young players that on Holliday's dime he would fly in to St. Louis to live with him and hit with him in the offseason. What is a very tight-knit group among Molina, Wainwright, Carpenter, and Matt Holliday in one of the great moments we've seen this year. It was incredible.
Almost speechless just to watch that. Know what it's like. Know how important that is to not only Matt, but the rest of the players. You don't think that's a brotherhood?
And for those that maybe not understand the moment, maybe you've been at work, just getting home, doing things with your kids, whatever the case may be, the Cardinals earlier tonight released and held a little bit of a press conference, but released the statement that more than likely they will not pick up his option for next year, meaning this very well could be it for Holliday. Carpenter on his way to second base with a double. This is our Gateway Honda home run inning. Matt Holliday just helped the Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri.
See, Danny, he's still giving back.
He went up to the plate, tears in his eyes. He goes back to the dugout with tears in his eyes. Diaz reaching for it, hits it to the right side, and safe at first as he hustles down the line. Ray Search, the pitching coach of the Pirates, out to talk to the lefty Zach Phillips. I'm still stunned in amazement at what we just saw from Matt Holliday. Incredible moment.
That was some kind of cool, wasn't it?
Diaz, your runner at first base. Carpenter is down at third. Still nobody out. 6-0 Cardinals as Molina chops one foul. You know, if I'm Mike Matheny, and I mean this sincerely, if you have another chance to get Holliday into a game over the weekend, I'm not sure you could do anything to beat that moment. You leave in your final at bat potentially with a home run.
Yeah, that's it. We've been talking about tough calls all night. It's just another one.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Molina hits it out of play. The Diaz home run the other night. Lou Brock stepping out onto the field on opening day and throwing out the ceremonial first pitch to begin the home portion of the schedule. And that home run moments ago, 3 of the great moments we've seen not only this year but ever at this ballpark. 0-2 the count. Molina hits into a double play. Out at second, out at first. Carpenter scores, and it's a 7-0 St. Louis lead. You're just shaking your head.
It's in one way I'm looking at it, I can't believe it.
Now,
another way I look at it, it doesn't surprise me. But the last thing I'm thinking is how awesome that is to watch, and for him.
You might want, if he's up to it, Holliday to take his position and then pull him.
I don't know if you can top.
Well, before that first pitch, and get one more huge, massive ovation. And get him in the dugout and let these fans recognize him one more time and appreciate him one more time.
Well, the thing I'm thinking is, too, like you talked about tough call, you might need him for the same reason with the game on the line on Sunday. No, not knowing, I don't know how well his thumb really is. I know we all think that it's got to be perfect for you to hit a home run, but this guy's a professional athlete, and guys play hurt. That's what he does for a living, and they make it look really easy. But even the fact that if he is healthy and you're crunch time in the last game of the year and you need a big at bat, do you go to him?
Again, we don't know about that injury, just how severe it is, the pain that he's playing in.
I'm sure it's a lot. The fact that the reports have been that every time he does take batting practice that it swells up and it's sore and it's got to take it easy means that it's extremely painful.
1 ball and 2 strikes. And a ground ball that's hit to short. And the throw is up the line. Yasiel Puig with a double against, of all people, Madison Bumgarner. Those two in his last start got after it, and it's 1-0. The Dodgers leading the Giants. Amazingly, in the great career of Matt Holliday, that was his first ever pinch hit home run. First ever. Very light mist right now falling here at Busch Stadium. And the 1-1 pitch. Peralta hits it out of play. "17 home runs as the Cardinals extend their pinch hitting record setting pace. 17 pinch hit home runs. One and two the count. A little bit low. That's pulled foul. Ironically, a 7-run lead capped off in this game with a home run hit by number 7. The 2-2. Popped up, foul. Two and two the count on Johnny Peralta. Ground ball slowly hit. And the out at first base. An incredible moment here at Busch Stadium. Matt Holliday in what could be his final at bat in a Cardinals uniform. A home run the opposite way. We find the seats you'll love as Broxton takes over. You find those Homer Road, and the best way to do it is to get the StubHub app today. Crowd tonight 43,070. 43070. Misting now here at the ballpark. Right back to Broxton, and Bell is the first out. Jonathan Broxton is our Chevy called to the pen.
There's some people down there not digging the rain.
I don't blame them.
There's some people out there moving a little closer to the field.
Lined into center. Grichuk, a diving catch. 7-0 our score as we play here in the top of the 8th. Rain is picked up here at Busch Stadium. And there's a strike, 1-1. Mentioned this last night. It's almost like you're in December and you're seeing snow falling here at Busch Stadium. It's light, and TV sometimes it looks a little worse on your screen at home than it really is, but we can tell you it's
starting to come down.
It's starting to come down pretty good. And a strikeout of McCutcheon. Good work by Broxton. Sends us to the bottom of the 8th. 7-0. What a special night for Matt Holliday. Well, moments ago, an incredible moment provided to us by Matt Holliday with his pinch hit home run. And now a live look at the field and the grounds crew putting on the tarp as the rain is picked up here in St. Louis. We are in the bottom of the 8th, and here it is. Matt Holliday in what could be his final plate appearance wearing a Cardinal uniform. Just awesome. So we'll step aside. It's a Helitech rain delay. 7-0 Cardinals here at Busch Stadium. They're hoping to resume play here in the next minute or so. And home runs have been a big part of this game tonight. Jed Jerko, team leading 29th of the year. That made it 1-0 St. Louis. Brandon Moss came into this game 7 for his last 96. He breaks out of it with that 2-run homer. And then the moment of the night. Pinch hitting in what could be his final plate appearance for the St. Louis Cardinals. Matt Holliday, his first ever pinch hit home run. Tears walking out of the dugout. Tears walking back in the dugout. What a week this has been from the Aledmys Diaz Grand Slam, returning from the memorial service for Jose Fernandez, to the controversial call of last night, and then the Matt Holliday home run. This has been some kind of homestand. And through it all, the Cardinals have a lead of 7-0. Hutchison is the new pitcher. 47-minute delay. Rain still falling ever so lightly right now here at the ballpark. Jim Hayes, the Cardinals Hall of Famer, Jim Edmonds, Dan McLaughlin with you. And it's 2 balls and 1 strike. This is our Chevy call to the pen. Drew Hutchison. And with a 7-run lead, you would think the Cardinals in that 9th inning don't have to go to Seung-Hwan Oh. You give him a night off, Kevin Segrist, and you get a little rest before what is a very quick turnaround. It's a day game tomorrow at noon here in St. Louis. Quick turnaround. 3-2 the count on Brandon Moss. Moss hits it out of play. Last check, the Dodgers and Giants out at AT&T Park, they are tied at 2 apiece. The Mets have already posted a victory, 5-1 over the Phils. That ball game at AT&T is 2-2 in the top of the 4th.
Talked about squaring that ball up. Brandon Moss, he just looks like a different hitter all of a sudden right now. He's staying balanced, going down and get that ball, but you could see a little bit, has that little bit of pull off, just a little you get a little times that you go in a big slump is when you get a little pull happy, and you can see just a little bit of that pull off, but definitely a better at bat, pitch by pitch.
What are some of the things you can do if you get pull happy or you're getting fooled a lot by changeups, which has been the case here recently with Brandon Moss?
Being fooled by changeups and is the same as being pull happy. Is just the end result is you're trying to do too much and trying to hit the ball in the right field as a left-hander and really just trying to get out in front of everything and hit the ball too hard. Got to really go backwards and start hitting the ball to left field and try to stay inside the ball and see how long you can see the ball all the way to the plate. Sometimes you just lose. You start looking in this window in front of you and you lose the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand. It's the weirdest thing because you just don't even see anything and you're just hoping it comes in this window so you can yank it. So you have to go backwards, and sometimes guys will just go in there and take pitches. I've seen guys, and I've done it, where you just go in the cage and bunt off a pitcher just so you can start to see the ball. You open your eyes really big and just try to get the release point again.
Here's Chad Jerko with a home run, number 29. It was a solo shot in the third. Well, the Cardinals only 7 hits tonight, but yet 7 runs. Tremendous outing again by Carlos Martinez. Martinez barring a all hands on deck Sunday as Jerko rips it foul. Will finish one ground ball double play made behind him, one short of the all-time record, which was 34, set by John Denny back in the late 1970s for the Cardinals. One ball and one strike. I was thinking about the Holliday home run and some of the great moments he's provided. And never forget making the call. I said, welcome to the Cards-Cubs rivalry, with a walk-off home run hit into the Cardinal bullpen off the bat of Holliday when he went on a tear when the Cardinals acquired him in 2009. And what does he do tonight? Puts one opposite field in the Cardinal bullpen. And Alfonso Marquez rings up Jerko. Alfonso may have dinner plans.
You might have said it right there. From up here, it didn't look like he went, but hard to tell. And slow motion gives you a better angle at it, but not that one. Sometimes a 7-0 game might be a little quick draw.
So one out and a runner at first, and a breaking ball swung on and missed by Randal Grichuk. Grichuk is hitless tonight. He's 0 for 3. Made a diving catch in center field. I said the other night, Jimmy, that I feel in regular season play, barring the Freeze home run and winning a World Series 06 and 2011, regular season moments, Rick Ankiel's home run was just incredible in his first game back to the big leagues after converting to being an outfielder. And we all know the story of Rick Ankiel and how tough that was for him in so many ways to come back and have that magical moment and to do it at home. I think about Aledmys Diaz home run this week with the grand slam, and now the home run hit by Holliday. I can't think, and maybe folks can help us out, but regular season moments, I can't think of 3 that have been better.
Well, the emotions that definitely played into it tonight, and with the Diaz home run, really makes it that much more powerful. But yeah, you got to put the big home run together along with the motions, and those two this week will have a hard time to be matched.
Man. Now Colton Wong. Oscar Taveras in his first ever big league game, his home run against the Giants. Tremendous moment. Here's the 0-1.
Tremendous moment for me, not matching tonight or last couple days, but the Michael Wacha no-hit bid. I was sitting in the stands for that. I remember how fired up I was watching this young man pitch.
1 out away.
A little high chopper.
Ground ball stays fair. Jaso to the bag. And that'll send us to the 9th inning. 7-0 St. Louis for the St. Louis Cardinals as we head to the top of this 9th inning. Well, Jimmy, you talked about it. Not easy. One of the hardest things to do, hit a baseball.
See the little, basically a hanging breaking ball right there too, and just in the brain, looking fastball, thinking fastball. You can tell his body just pulled off that a little bit, but just enough of the thought process looking fastball and getting a breaking ball. Even though it was hanging right there, you swing right through it.
Jung Ho Gung near the top of the 9th. 7-0 St. Louis. And the first pitch is taken for a ball. New catcher is in. That is Carson Kelly. Cardinals have given Kelly most of the playing time. Is they've had an inning here or there, or a couple of innings to give Yadi a breather, and that's with Rosario and Brian Pena available to catch. So they've gone with the young Carson Kelly. Outfield is straight away. Good changeup. He sells that changeup, doesn't he?
He has a good one. Good arm action, a little deception.
Really jumps at the hitter. So it's a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Taken low.
You know, you're talking about Kelly playing in the game, and I couldn't help but notice his number 71. And I was thinking about the email that we got a little earlier today about Vin Scully, and he would say number 71 if you're scoring at home. That used to make me laugh. I'm thinking to myself, who's scoring at home? I was just a kid, obviously, but I'm still thinking that. Who's keeping score at the house right now?
I've told this story many times. One time I said, well, for those of you scoring at home, crowd tonight of whatever it was, and I said exactly what you said. Well, who would be scoring at home?
Why would they be, the story.
Why would they be doing that? I mean, don't they flip between pitches or innings, and maybe they go get something to eat, come back, watch it, whatever. And I mean, I must have had
hate mail.
Hundreds of letters saying, Dan, I score at home and I need you to give me the crowd. So that's why I do it. I give the crowd every time, at least try to. 3-2 pitch.
We were on the West Coast this year, and I think the game was long, and I had said same thing. I think it was the Dodger game, and I'm sure no one's really watching anymore. And I started getting all this stuff back. Said, we're still watching, we're still watching, we're still watching.
Well, now with MLB.TV, people watch us everywhere. So it might be late here in St. Louis, and there's a strikeout, but somewhere people are watching. You'd be shocked where we get the emails, the tweets, and the texts. Our Budweiser player of the game. We've said it so many times over the last 7 years. Matt Holliday, tonight a solo home run, his first ever pinch hit home run in his outstanding career. John Jaso with 1 out and nobody on. 2-2 the score. It's in the bottom of the 4th, the Giants and the Dodgers. So the Cardinals will pick up a win here tonight, barring a miraculous comeback by the Pirates. And then they shower up quickly, get in their cars, head back home, get a little night's sleep and back at the ballpark early tomorrow morning.
Could change those hands here. They're almost split apart. He's got a grip on that bat.
The fly ball into right and a diving catch. Tommy Pham.
Welcome to the game.
Ball finds you.
It does. You think we can't make this stuff up. When we talk about this stuff and people probably go, what are they talking about? Well, there you go. Talk about you come into the game, you better be ready to play. The ball will find you. There you go. For those of you who are scoring at home, Tommy Pham is in the game.
And the final hope is Sean Rodriguez of the Pirates. Ground ball. This should do it. The Cardinals take game 1 of the series. And now the scoreboard watch tonight. Quick turnaround and get back after it tomorrow for game number 2. Quite a game and quite a moment as the Cardinals now a half game back, and Matt Holliday providing the moment of the night.
Definitely was. What a big day for Matt Holliday and the Cardinals too.